Something that we saw in the last class about functions, just to make sure you guys understood the content. So a way to define a function, the way to define the function within Python is just you have def right there, and then you put the name of your function and the variables that it's going to import from your code. So right now I'm not even calling my function there, but I can come down here and I can do math test, and then variable 1, variable 2. All right, so my code is actually going to feed variable 1 and variable 2 into, and it's going to call my function. See? So when it gets to this line, it's actually going to jump up here. It's going to bring the value for variable 1 and variable 2 to my function here. It's going to run the code that's inside of my function, and then it's going to jump back, right? So what code is inside of my function? The only code that's inside of my function is this code that's tabbed down here. Only the code that's tabbed is the code that's considered inside of the function. All right. So if I don't call the function, if I come back here and I comment this, it's not even going to call the function. So it's never going to run this piece of code. That piece of code is only going to be ran once I actually call it. Then it's going to jump there. It's going to define, that's for sure, but it's not going to run. If you have questions about this statement, you can let me know. But anyway, let's go. So like in my code, what I'm doing, it's going to define my function. It's going to come down here. It's going to ask for the user to insert variable number 1. It's going to store in variable number 1. It's going to ask the student to insert variable number 2. It's gonna save inside of variable number 2, and when I call math test, it's gonna actually feed variable 1 and variable 2 into A and B. So A is gonna have the value that variable 1 has out here. So, and then it's gonna replace A where A is used inside of the function. And the same with variable 2. Variable 2 is gonna be B, and B is gonna be those replacements there. All right, so if I actually save my code, so I save that code, I come down here, and then I run Python3, and then my function test.py, variable 1 5, variable 2 4, but I didn't ask it to do anything. See, I'm just like doing the calculation, and then that's it. I'm not actually asking to do anything. So let's ask my code to do something. So I'm going to come back here, and I'm going to tell can I print C, and can I print D? All right, I'm going to save my code. I'm going to come back here, and then 5, second one is 4. So the C is going to be 5 plus 4, which is 9, and it's going to print 9, correct? And D is going to be 5 minus 4, which is going to be 1, and it's going to store in D. It's going to print D, so it's going to be 1. So it's doing what we ask it to do. Good? All right. Let me clear the screen. So I'm going to come back here, and I'm going to... What if I actually print C out here? So technically what it's going to do is actually come here, insert variable 1, 2 is going to feed to my math test. After math test is done, it's going to jump back to my code, and it's going to print C. Is this going to work? It's actually defining C inside of my function, and then I'm printing C outside of my function, so back in my code. So let's see what he's going to say. So 5, 4, oh, sorry. I apologize for that. I forgot to save. Let's do it again. 5, 4, and then I have an error. C is not defined. So my code doesn't know what C is. So when we have to use something from your code, then we have to return something. So let's say we return C, correct? Do you think it's gonna work now? I'm returning C and then I'm printing C down here. So let's see, 5, 4, error. See, C is still not defined. When I return something, when I return a value, what it means returning is that the result of this statement is gonna be the value that it returned. So if I come down here and I do C equals to math test, then now let's see. I think I forgot to save it, but it's fine. All right, so I have 5, 4, and then I'm doing 5 plus 4, and then I'm returning the value of C. Now this return, so this value here is going to be the result for a math test, and it's going to be stored in C out here, and then it's going to print that same C. It's not printing this C up here, it's printing that C. And I can actually change this to be result, and then I can print result. Oops. And it's gonna do the same thing. And you see that like what I'm printing is not C, it's actually result. If I try to print C, I believe you know what's gonna happen. If I try to print C, it's still gonna give you an error because C doesn't belong to the code, it belongs to the function. So that's what we call a local variable. So that variable only works within your local there, within your function. If it's something that works throughout your whole code inside of outside functions, that's called a global variable, which we're not like covering right now. We're gonna cover in the future. All right. What if I want to return 2 values? I can actually just come here and do double values. So double values receive C and D. Oops, sorry. And I'm gonna return double values. So right now, what am I going to return? If I run it again, 5, 4, see how now I return two pieces of information. It's 2 pieces of information stored in an array, but still like I send me back 2 pieces of information. So that's what I needed. Good. Another thing that I want to cover is see how my code is actually I have a place for my function, and then I have a place for my code. They're not all messed up and all over the place. In some programming languages, there's a very specific place where your code should go, and sometimes even where you should define your variables. So even though like Python doesn't have that restriction, I think it's nice to actually have a good organization of your code. So even if I was going to import library, I would just like do it right over the top. So there's a sequence of what are doing things, right? So let's say I want to import the math library, and then I want to come here, and then I want to do D is going to be the square root of C. So I'm using a library up here, right? All right. So I'm using a library inside of my function. I'm gonna save it. I'm coming out here. 5, 4, and then 9 in 3. 3 is because D is gonna be the square root of 9, and then it's gonna return double values, which is C and D. So that's why you got 3 there. Correct? And actually as we did before, my library actually also works outside of my function. So this is just like a quick overview, and I just wanted to make sure you guys understood what goes inside, what goes outside, where your variables would work and where it wouldn't work, and how to return something that how to send information to your function, and how to have information coming back from your function to your code, because that's very important for any programming language, but we want to keep working on with Python, so that's very important for our Python. All right, thank you very much, and if you have any questions, you can let me know. Thank you.